What is this? I can't take this money.
You don't have a choice.
They say in Seoul, everything has a price. The neon lights of Gangnam? They cost electricity and ambition. The respect of your peers? That costs silence and conformity. But a life? A human life? I never knew what the going rate for a human soul was. I thought it was priceless. I thought dignity was something you couldn't put on a receipt. I was wrong. The price of my life was exactly $50,000. I stood there on the rain-slicked pavement of AMBW, the water soaking through my cheap waitress uniform, plastering my hair to my face. In my hands, I clutched a black velvet envelope. It was heavy. Heavier than it looked. Inside lay the answer to every prayer I had whispered in the dark for the last 3 years. $50,000. Cash. Untraceable. Immediate. It was enough to pay for the kidney transplant my mother had been waiting for. It was enough to clear the tuition debt that was about to get me kicked out of nursing school. It was enough to stop the crushing weight on my chest that made it hard to breathe every single morning. All I had to do was walk away. Just turn around, get on the subway, and vanish. But the man standing in front of me wasn't the kind of man who let people vanish. He was leaning against a black Maybach that looked like a shadow cut from the night itself. Seo-joon. The ghost of Seoul. The man they whispered about in the back rooms of the chaebol boardrooms. He wasn't wearing a coat, despite the freezing rain. His charcoal suit was impeccable, tailored to a frame that was broad, powerful, and terrifyingly still. He watched me shivering in the cold, his dark eyes unreadable. He didn't look like a savior. He looked like a collector. "Sir," I stammered, holding the envelope out. My hand was shaking so bad the velvet trembled. "You made a mistake. This is too much. I can't keep this." He didn't take it back. He didn't even blink. He just took a slow step forward, invading my personal space until all I could smell was rain, expensive scotch, and danger. He leaned down, his voice a low vibration that I felt in my bones. "It's not a mistake, Tasha," he whispered. My heart stopped. He knew my name. "Keep it," he said. "Consider it a down payment." A down payment on what? I breathed, terrified of the answer. He smiled then. A cold, possessive smile that promised ruin. "On you." I didn't know it then, standing in that alleyway. But I had just signed a contract with the devil. And in this city, the devil always collects his due. To understand why I took the money, you have to understand what it's like to be invisible. My name is Tasha. I am 23 years old. I am a nursing student at Seoul National University on a probationary scholarship. And I am a black woman working in the most exclusive high-end lounge in Gangnam. Being a foreigner, a Waegyukin, in Korea is already hard. You stand out. People stare on the subway. They touch your hair without asking. They make assumptions. But at the Onyx Lounge, my job was to be the opposite. My job was to be a ghost. The manager, Mr. Lee, hired me for one reason, exotic appeal, he called it. He put me in a fitted uniform that showed too much leg, told me to smile, and gave me one rule. Don't speak unless spoken to. Pour the champagne. Light the cigarettes. And disappear. I was good at it. I had to be. My life was a math equation that never balanced. Rent, 800,000 won. Tuition installment, 2.5 million won. Mom's dialysis treatments, 1.2 million won a week. Every shift was a desperate calculation. If I got good tips, Mom got her medicine. If I got bad tips, we ate convenience store ramen for a week. That Tuesday started like any other Tuesday. It was raining, the kind of cold, gray soul rain that seeps into your bones. I was exhausted. I had just come from a 10-hour clinical rotation at the hospital, changing bandages and emptying bedpans, only to rush across the city, put on makeup, and serve drinks to rich men who looked right through me. I was wiping down the black marble bar when Mr. Lee came rushing over. He looked pale. He was sweating, wiping his forehead with a handkerchief. "Tasha," he hissed, grabbing my arm. "VIP booth 1. Open it up." I frowned. Booth 1 is reserved for the owner's family. We never open it on Tuesdays. "We do tonight," Lee said, his voice trembling. "He's here." "Who?" "Kim Seo-joon." The name hit the room like a physical weight. Even the other bartenders stopped moving. I knew the name. Everyone in South Korea knew the name Kim Seo-joon. He was the head of Hanseong Holdings, a massive conglomerate that owned shipping lines, construction firms, and half the real estate in Busan. But that was just the public face. The rumors, the ones whispered by the nurses at the hospital, the ones muttered by the taxi drivers, said he was something else. They said he was the head of the Jeondal, the syndicate. They said he fixed problems that the law couldn't touch. They said he was ruthless, cold, and untouchable. "Why me?" I asked, my stomach tightening. Usually, for high-profile Korean VIPs, Mr. Lee sent Minji or Haeun. "Because he asked for privacy," Lee whispered. "And you know how to be quiet. Just serve him, Tasha. Don't look him in the eye. Don't flirt. Don't breathe too loud. If he wants anything, you give it to him. Understand?" "Yes, sir." I grabbed the tray. My hands were steady, but my knees felt like water. I walked up the spiral staircase to the VIP mezzanine. The air got colder the higher I went. The noise of the club faded away, replaced by a heavy, oppressive silence. I reached the velvet rope of booth 1. And there he was. He was sitting alone in the center of the leather-curved sofa. He didn't look like a gangster. He didn't have the flashy gold chains or the loud tattoos of the lower-level thugs I sometimes saw. He looked like a prince of darkness. He was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s. He wore a white dress shirt, unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that were corded with muscle. On his wrist sat a watch that probably cost more than my mother's entire life savings. He was staring at a tablet, swiping through documents with a bored expression. I took a breath, fixed my service smile, and stepped inside. "Good evening, sir," I said softly, in perfect honorific Korean. "I will be your server tonight." He didn't look up. "Scotch," he said. His voice was deep, smooth, and commanded instant obedience. "Neat. Leave the bottle." "Yes, sir." I moved to the side table, grabbing the bottle of Balvenie 30-year. My hands moved through the ritual: glass, ice bucket, napkin. I poured the amber liquid. I placed it on the coaster in front of him. "Is there anything else I can get you, sir?" Silence. He stopped scrolling. Slowly, deliberately, he lifted his head. And then, he looked at me. It wasn't a glance. It was an impact. His eyes were dark, almost black, and sharp as obsidian glass. He didn't look at my chest. He didn't look at my legs. He looked straight into my eyes. It felt like he was scanning me. Like he was downloading my entire history, my fears, my secrets, in a single second. "You're not Korean," he stated. It wasn't a question. "No, sir. I'm American." "You speak the language well." "I've lived here for 3 years, sir." He hummed, a low sound in his throat. He picked up the glass, took a sip, and turned his attention back to the tablet. Stay, he ordered. Sir? Stand there, he gestured to the wall beside the booth. I don't like waiting for refills. So I stood. For 3 hours, I became a statue. I watched him. I watched the way he worked. He wasn't partying. He was working. People came in and out of the booth, men in suits who bowed too low, women who tried to catch his eye but were dismissed with a wave of his hand. He terrified them. I could smell the fear on the men who came to report to him. But what unsettled me the most was that, every few minutes, I would feel it. The weight of his gaze. He would glance up from his conversation, look at me standing in the shadows, and just watch. He watched my hands as I refilled his glass. He watched me shift my weight when my feet started hurting. He watched me check my cheap wristwatch. It wasn't lust. It was calculation. It felt like he was solving a puzzle, and I was the missing piece. At 1:45 a.m., my phone buzzed in my pocket. I knew I shouldn't check it, but it was the special ringtone I set for the hospital. Panic flared in my chest. Mom. I shifted slightly, trying to be discreet. Check it, he said. I jumped. He hadn't even looked up from his glass. I apologize, sir, it's against policy to, I am the policy, he said calmly. Check your phone. I pulled it out with trembling fingers. A text from the night nurse. Status alert, her levels are dropping. We need to schedule the dialysis for tomorrow morning, or she goes into septic shock. Please confirm payment of outstanding balance, 3.2 million won. 3 million won. By morning, I had 40,000 won in my bank account. I felt the blood drain from my face. My hands started to shake. I shoved the phone back into my pocket, fighting back tears. Not here. Do not cry here. I took a deep breath, forcing the mask back on. When I looked up, Seo-joon was staring right at me. He had put his glass down. He was leaning forward, his elbows on his knees, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. He saw the fear. He saw the panic. And for the first time all night, the corner of his mouth twitched upward. Go get my bill, he said. I ran down to the register, printed the check, and brought it back. The bill was $4,000. He didn't even look at it. He threw a black credit card onto the tray, the heavy, metal kind that doesn't have a limit. I processed it and brought it back. Thank you, sir. He stood up then, buttoning his suit jacket. He towered over me. Up close, he was even more intimidating. He smelled of power and old money. There is something on the table for you, he said. He nodded toward the black leather check presenter. Good night, Tasha. He walked out, his security detail falling into formation around him like sharks. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. My legs felt weak. I walked over to the table to clean up. I picked up the check presenter. It felt thick. Bulky. I opened it. And my world tilted on its axis. It wasn't a check. It was an envelope. A thick, black velvet envelope with the crest of Hanseong Holdings embossed in gold. I opened the flap. Green. Hundreds. Stacks of them. I gasped, dropping the tray. It clattered to the floor, but I didn't hear it. I was staring at the money. I counted one stack. $10,000. There were 5 stacks. $50,000. My brain short-circuited. This is a mistake. He left the wrong envelope. This is a payoff for someone else. This is drug money. But then I saw the note tucked into the first band of cash. A small, cream-colored card with angular, sharp handwriting. For the hospital. And the tuition. I stopped breathing. He knew. How did he know? I never told him. I never told anyone at the club about my mom or my school. I kept my life separate. The realization hit me like a bucket of ice water. He checked me. While I was standing there serving him drinks, he had someone run a background check on me. He knew who I was. He knew where I lived. He knew my mother was dying. Fear spiked in my chest, hot and sharp. This wasn't kindness. Men like Seo-joon didn't do kindness. This was a trap. I couldn't keep this. If I kept this, I was bought. I knew how the Jiandal worked. You accept a favor, you owe a favor. And a $50,000 favor? That would cost me everything. I grabbed the envelope. I didn't think. I just ran. Wait. I screamed, bursting into the alley. The valet was just closing the back door of the Maybach. Seo-joon stopped the door with one hand. He stepped back out into the rain. He didn't look annoyed. He looked expectant. Like he knew I would come. I ran up to him, ignoring the rain soaking my uniform. You left this, I panted, shoving the envelope toward him. He looked at the money, then at my face. I didn't leave it, he said calm. I gave it. I can't take this. Why? Is it not enough? It's too much. It's $50,000. I don't know who you think I am, or what kind of services you think you're paying for, but I'm not. I know exactly who you are, he interrupted. His voice cut through the rain. He took a step closer, forcing me to tilt my head back to look at him. Tasha Williams. Born in Chicago. Moved to Seoul 3 years ago. Nursing student, top 10% of your class until your grades slipped last month due to exhaustion. Mother, Elena Williams, admitted to Asen Medical Center with renal failure. Outstanding debt, critical. I stared at him, horrified. He recited my life like it was a grocery list. You stalked me? I whispered. I investigated an asset, he corrected. I am not an asset. I'm a person. I was shaking now, from cold and from anger. Take your money back. I don't want your pity. It's not pity, he said, his eyes darkening. It's an acquisition. What? He closed the distance between us. He reached out, his gloved hand brushing a wet lock of hair from my cheek. The touch was shocking. Intimate. I watched you tonight, he said, his voice dropping to that dangerous, velvet whisper. I saw how you handled the other men. The way you swallowed your pride but kept your dignity. You are smart. You are resilient. And you are desperate. He gestured to the envelope in my hand. That money saves your mother. It finishes your degree. It buys you freedom. At what cost? I challenged him. What do I have to do? Sleep with you? Run drugs for you? He laughed then. A short, dark sound that had no humor in it. I have women for that. I don't need to buy a waitress for my bed. He leaned in close, his lips inches from my ear. I need something rarer. I need loyalty. I need someone who is invisible to the world, but sees everything. I need you. He pulled back and looked me in the eye. The money is yours. But if you keep it, you leave the Onyx Lounge. You leave your old life. You belong to me now. Belong to you? I choked out. Like a slave? Like an investment, he said. You will work for me. My schedule. My rules. My world. You will be my shadow. And in exchange, I will make sure your mother has the best doctors in Asia. I will make sure you never have to worry about a bill again. He checked his watch. You have 10 seconds to decide, Tasha. Get in the car, and your problems disappear. Or hand me the envelope, and go back to watching your mother die by inches. It was cruel. It was manipulative. It was the most horrific thing anyone had ever said to me. But it was also true. I looked at the envelope. I thought about the text message on my phone. Septic shock. I looked at the dark, cold alleyway behind me. The life of counting pennies, of fear, of exhaustion. Then I looked at him. The devil in a bespoke suit. He was offering me a golden cage. But at least inside the cage, my mother would be alive. My hand tightened on the velvet. Seo-joon saw the decision the moment I made it. His eyes gleamed. "Good girl," he whispered. He opened the car door wider. "Get in." The interior of the Maybach smelled like leather and cedar. It was warm. It was quiet. It was a different world from the rain-soaked street outside. Seo-joon sat next to me. He didn't look at me. He was already back on his tablet, typing a message. "Where are we going?" I asked, my voice small. "To the hospital," he said without looking up. "To pay your bill. Then to your apartment so you can pack." "Pack? You don't live in that rat-infested studio in Itaewon anymore. You live at the Sky Tower now." With you?" He finally looked at me. His expression was amused. "In the staff quarters, Tasha. Don't get ahead of yourself." He tapped the screen of his tablet and handed it to me. "Read this. Sign at the bottom." It was a digital contract. An NDA. A non-disclosure agreement so strict that if I even whispered his name to a stranger, I would go to prison for 20 years. But there was a second page. An employment contract. Position, personal assistant/private care liaison. Salary, 10 million won per month. Term, indefinite. I stared at the salary. It was more than doctors made. "What exactly am I doing?" I asked. "Personal assistant? You have an army of assistants." He turned to face me fully. The city lights blurred past the tinted windows, casting shadows across his face. "I have employees," he said. "I have subordinates. I have soldiers. But I am surrounded by enemies, Tasha. In my world, the tea you drink might be poisoned. The driver might be paid off. The secretary might be selling secrets to my rivals." He reached out and took my hand. His grip was possessive. "You are an outsider. You have no connections in Seoul. No family except your sick mother. You are beholden only to me. That makes you the only person I can trust." "To do what?" "To watch," he said. "You are invisible in the club. I want you to be invisible for me. You will sit in my meetings. You will pour the tea. You will organize my life. But really, you will be listening. You will tell me who is lying. You will tell me who is afraid." He squeezed my hand. "You are my eyes now, Tasha. And if you betray me, if you run..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I looked down at the tablet. I pressed my thumb to the screen. Accepted. The car slowed down. We were at the hospital. Seo-joon took the tablet back. "Welcome to Hanseong Holdings," he said softly. The door opened. His security guards were waiting with umbrellas. I stepped out, dry and warm, while the world got wet around me. I walked into the hospital with the King of Seoul at my back, and for the first time in 3 years, the receptionist didn't look at me with pity. She looked at me with fear. I paid the bill. I saved my mother. But as I watched the zeros disappear from my account, I realized the truth. I hadn't just taken a job. I had become property. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? I packed my life into 2 suitcases. It was pathetic how little I had. Some clothes, my nursing textbooks, a framed photo of me and Mom. At 8 a.m. sharp, the buzzer rang. It wasn't a taxi. It was a black SUV with tinted windows. A driver in a suit took my bags without a word. I got in the back. We drove into the heart of Gangnam, to the Hanseong Tower. A needle of glass and steel that pierced the sky. We didn't go to the lobby. We went to the private underground garage. An elevator took me up 80 floors. The doors opened directly into a penthouse that was bigger than my entire apartment building. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Han River. Everything was white marble, black leather, and cold, sharp lines. Kim Seo-joon was standing by the window, drinking espresso. He was wearing a fresh suit, navy blue this time. He looked rested. Dangerous. Perfect. You're on time, he said, turning around. I didn't have a choice, I replied, gripping my purse strap. Correct. He walked over to a desk and picked up a badge. He tossed it to me. Tasha Williams, Executive Liaison, Security Level 1. Put that on. We have a board meeting in 20 minutes. Board meeting? I don't know anything about your business. You don't need to know the business. You need to know people. He walked past me, his shoulder brushing mine. The heat radiating off him was distracting. Come, he ordered. I followed him. Like a duckling. Like a servant. We walked into a boardroom filled with 20 old Korean men in gray suits. The air was thick with tension. When Seo-joon entered, they all stood up and bowed. Deep, 90-degree bows. He ignored them. He sat at the head of the table. He pointed to a chair slightly behind his right shoulder, in the shadows. Sit, he told me. I sat. I was invisible again. The meeting started. It was boring. Financial reports. Stock prices. Mergers. But then, I saw it. The man to Seo-joon's left. Mr. Choi. Every time Seo-joon spoke, Mr. Choi's hand twitched. He kept glancing at his phone under the table. He was sweating, just like Mr. Lee had been at the club. I watched him. I studied him. After the meeting, the room cleared out. Seo-joon spun his chair around to face me. Well, he asked. What did you see? I hesitated. Mr. Choi, I said. The man on your left. The CFO. What about him? He's terrified of you. But, he's hiding something. He checked his phone 3 times when you mentioned the Busan project. And he's not sweating because it's hot. He's sweating because he's guilty. Seo-joon stared at me. His face was blank. Then, a slow, terrifying smile spread across his lips. See, he whispered. I knew you were a good investment. He stood up and walked over to me. He placed his hands on the arms of my chair, trapping me. He leaned down until our noses were almost touching. Mr. Choi is embezzling money. I've known for weeks. I was waiting to see if you would catch it. My breath hitched. It was a test? Everything is a test, Tasha. And you passed. He reached up and tucked a straight curl behind my ear. His fingers lingered on my neck. His skin was fire. You belong to me now, he repeated, his voice dropping an octave. And we are going to have so much fun. I thought I took the money to save my mother. But standing there, trapped between the chair and the King of Seoul, looking into eyes that promised both pleasure and pain, I realized something terrifying. I didn't just sell my time. I sold my heart. And Kim Seo-joon intends to break it, piece by piece, until it beats only for him. That was part 1 of the Mafia's down payment. Now, I have to ask you. If a man like Kim Seo-joon offered you $50,000 to belong to him, be honest. Would you run? Or would you sign the contract? Let me know in the comments. Type I'm sold if you take the money, or I'm running if you value your freedom. And listen, things in the penthouse are about to get much darker, and much steamier. If you want to see what happens when Tasha has to spend her first night in the staff quarters, which just happen to be connected to his bedroom, you need to subscribe and hit that bell. You don't want to miss the interest payment on this loan. Welcome to Mafia Heartbeat. See you in the shadows.